Tonight, a terrifying experience for two Hopkins residents who were aboard the Delta plane that filled with a smoky haze during a routine flight to Colombia. Chris English joining us now in studio. And Chris, kind of explain how they're feeling tonight. A lot of emotions.
Well, Erica, both Kristen and Bill Chapman were shaken up just hours ago as they spoke exclusively to News 19 about the scary moments leading up to that emergency landing in Atlanta.
And it immediately filled with smoke. Immediately. And everyone started screaming, smoke, smoke, smoke.
Kristen Chapman recalled the moment just after takeoff when Delta Flight 876 filled with smoke. Chapman was returning home from a trip with her sister and father when the cabin of the Columbia-bound flight quickly filled with what is being described as a haze or smoke. Kristen's father, Bill, said the smoke made it nearly impossible to breathe.
It was the burning in my throat, and I just couldn't holler.
Kristen says initially flight attendants made it sound as though they couldn't reach the pilot.
The flight attendant said, "We're trying to get a hold of the pilot." And when she said that, that's when all chaos broke loose. Everyone started crying, screaming, and it erupted into a panic.
The pilot contacted the Atlanta control tower and declared an emergency. The Boeing 717 with 99 people on board then made an emergency landing at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. As soon as the plane came to a stop on the runway, emergency crews arrived as passengers were evacuated from the plane. Passengers were then taken back to the terminal, checked out by emergency personnel, and booked on later flights back to Colombia. Delta declined our request for an on-camera interview, but released a statement to News 19 that said in part, quote, "The flight crew followed procedures to return to Atlanta when a haze inside the aircraft was observed after departure. Nothing is more important than the safety of our customers and people." Aviation expert and former airline pilot John Nance says there are procedures in place for just such an event.
If it's something that is smoke and is getting thicker, then they're going to immediately go to the nearest airport that can handle them, and that's going to be with the full cooperation of ATC and an emergency declaration.
Nance says air travel is still statistically safer than driving.
We fly about 100,000 flights a day across the earth, 32,000 over the United States every day, and that is almost always a successful conclusion to every one of those flights.
Kristen says after a long day of traveling, she's grateful to be back home with her 6-month-old son.
And I just remember crying out, just saying, "God, please let me make it home to him."
She says she'll pay more attention to the pre-flight safety presentation from now on.
But I would encourage anyone to make sure you pay attention, because our life was saved today, but it could have really went a wrong way.
Bill Chapman says for his next trip, he's sticking to the road.
We're going to drive. We will be driving.
And tonight, the Chapmans say that Delta reps only offered to rebook their travel to Colombia. Now, we asked the Delta spokesperson about the status of that plane and if crews have determined what caused the smoke, but have not yet received a response. But Erica, definitely a scary situation this morning for those folks.
Oh, for sure. And hearing that mom talk about just wanting to get home to her family, I can certainly relate. Chris, thank you so much. We're going to check